So the first thing I should probably mention about the mod is we can start as a assimilated Borg ship. And we'll pick our Borg colonists. Borgs always start with the same 3 traits. They have a reduced mental break threshold, which is, I'll explain that later. They have a increased resting, so they rest faster. And they have Borg assimilation, which is a faster global learning speed, so they learn very quickly. And they only have those 3 traits. They don't generate and roll for any other traits. So those 3 traits for every Borg colonist. The 3 of you slowly rise from the ground, feeling the nanoprobes inside you. You can hear a voice of the collective. It is time to work. Assimilate everything. And it looks like we start off in a ship that has recently been in a battle. We have a lot of hull breaches scattered throughout the ship. We have one in the bridge section. As we can see, that we have a hull breach in the bridge section, and this is a vacuum at this time, so we're going to have to repair this damage. And we have a number of hull breaches throughout the ship. We have another hull breach at the right engine. Looks like another hull breach in this storage compartment. We'll just have to move out through the ship to discover what we have inside our own ship. And maybe keep the guys out of the decompressed areas. I had to download a new build of Save Our Ships 2.3. This is their experimental build you can find on their Discord server. Their Discord server will be linked down below. Know that if you download this mod right now, you will need the most up-to-date version of Save Our Ship, which you can find on their Discord server. Otherwise, this scenario will not run. A quick heads up. You can see I have different scan options at the bridge. Scan for sites, toggle on and off. Scan for ships, toggle on and off. So we can see we'll greet it with a different introduction. Cube 187 report log. Warning indicates power fluctuation detected on port nacelle. Attempting to reroute system powered and vent plasma. Error sensors detect major hull breach and loss of primary power systems. Reactor breach is imminent. Initialize emergency core isolation and ejection sequence. Runtime error. Emergency core isolation and ejection sequence failed to complete. Critical system failure is imminent. Transmission operational data to primary Unimatrix. Link established. System error. Unimatrix link unstable. Data corruption detected. And this is back to us. Borg Cube 187 report error log. Let's just kind of skim down this. Failed attempt. Survey nanites. Analyzing area. Analyzing complete. Primary Unimatrix assumed to be destroyed. Estimated new Unimatrix and continuing primary objective of universal assimilation. Secure nanites from local sources. Achieve orbit and rebuild warp capability cube. Assimilate various organics to add their biological and technology distinctiveness to our own. We are Borg. So it sounds like our Borg cube was destroyed. When you start, depending on the starting scenario, it sounds like you can also start from a spaceship rather than starting on the ground. So if you want to start your new playthrough scenario, there might now be a scenario that you can start the game from a spaceship. We'll talk about that later. Let's just talk about the Borg technology first. We already discussed their traits. If we go to their needs, we can literally see they have no wants, desires, or feelings about anything. They don't care. Their mood will never move above 50%. It will never drop lower or higher. Events might affect this in a small way, but genuinely, their mood will be this. We'll start with 3 Borg unlinked, which are essentially a bed for the Borgs to recharge at. These will need power, and we'll have to assign them to sleep in them. Essentially, they're just like a charging bay for androids, is my fastest and easiest comparison. And we have a Borg adaptive neutralized synthesizer. This is essentially a multi-purpose crafting machine, so we'll be able to make all the basic stuff which we'll need from here. The way the Borgs function is very, very, very different than anything else you've ever experienced for faction. They don't use raw materials. They break everything they find, steel, wood, body parts, guns, armor, weapons, into nanites, and then they build with these nanites. They have one resource, and that is nanites. That's it. You don't build anything else. You don't build with anything else. You just build with nanites. I think maybe you use advanced components as well, but you can make advanced components from nanites. You can also make their meals in this machine as well, and you can get a better cooking station down the road. This is just your survival emergency crafting station, is how I describe this. You can make nutrition paste out of nanites as well. We can see it costs 8 subtrite nanites, nanite substrates, oh gosh, to make 3 Borg paste. And obviously they don't care about what they eat because, once again, they have no feelings. You will start the game with a very small amount of nanites. We can see we have, give or take, 150 here. This is used inside the Borg Adaptive Neutralizer Synthesizer to act as a beginning game power source. So once we fuel it, we can see it's going to output 500 watts of power, and that will power our charging bays, and it'll allow us to break down raw resources, such as wood, into additional nanites to use to build other various things. And, yeah. Let's talk about the buildings. So the first thing we want to think about building is building this substrain Starship station. This is essentially, it costs 100 nanites, and it will allow us to build the basic components of a starship. We can see we also start with a Borg sphere, which is essentially a shuttle. So once you've actually have enough power to power the substrate Starship station, we can go to the builds and we can click add builds. And this is where you build all components to your Borg equipment, and all ship components. All of these will cost nanites. Everything is based around nanites with the Borg. It's your primary resource. Everything will be converted into nanites. Everything will be made from nanites. Even chem fuel is made out of nanites. We can see to make 100 chem fuel will take 25 nanites. And you're going to be harvesting the local resources, harvesting bodies, harvesting people, harvesting any organic matter you can to break down into nanites, and then using those nanites to build your ship. Alright, that's the basic premise, of like the bare bone introduction of what Borgs are. You break down biological life, you turn that biological life into nanites, and you use the nanites to build and expand your Borg cube. Borg Queen. I want this to be cool. I can think of a number of different mechanics to use with her. I just need it to be worthy. Nanoprobes. Nanoprobes will be invisible workers that perform tasks for the drones. I will connect them to the Queen. They will be the self-healing fabricator factor of the Borg. Okay, cool. New types of nanite substances. Currently there are only one type of substance for all the activities. It is a function of as a universal medium for all Borg activity. I simply increase the cost of substance in the mid and late game as you become more able to conquer enemies and make it more efficient. Obviously this is not the best solution. However, it is easy and allows for changes in post-production. Originally, there were different types of substances acquired from different materials. There is still potential here, but I don't want it to suck. I decided to focus my energy on other places, as I need to playtest and feedback this part. I'm thinking about bringing in a second kind of substance for valuable materials and spacer level tech. This would allow late game development and may alleviate some of the issues with using the substance. Alright, cool. And gear and building upgrades. Playtesting is time consuming and balance literally never ends. I end up spending most of my time on the mod in early testimony parts of the game. I want to develop the spacer stuff to add content on the back end of the game. I am thinking about an additional spacer tier of weapons, armor, and buildings. It will require either boatloads of substance or a new substance, or both. Borg player start scenarios. This is what we're doing. Currently I have both a spacer start and a citadel start. There it is right there, spacer start with the Borg. I want to maximize this aspect of the game as a way to deliver bite-sized content. I agree, that's an awesome idea. That's amazing, dude. You will be assimilated. These projects are related to the Borg as a hostile NPC faction. I understand that most players only want to encounter the Borg rather than play as them. This can be accomplished in a number of different ways. I have no experience with much of this stuff, so I often put this work off on other
things. Okay, that's fair. Eventually, Borg-related scenarios. Eventually, I want to implement Borg as a hostile enemy in specific scenarios. This will probably be in the Federation mod, however. Cool. I want, work on one project at a time. Just focus on Borg, Federation mod, maybe way down the road, sounds cool, but it's good to just direct your attention at one project at a time, from my personal experience. I want to streamline the process of transforming rice-growing human pawns into a lethal Borg drone. Eventually, you can create your own queen and assimilate the galaxy. I just need some more ideas to make sure it doesn't suck. Perfectly valid. Borg-related events. This is totally new frontier for me. At this time, I'm not even sure what the possibilities are. I appreciate input. Give this guy some input. He's got a Steam Workshop page, which I'll link, and you can probably find more ways to contact him from that Steam Workshop page. If I find any additional ways for you to contact him, if you want to give him some input, he's literally asking for your input. If you have a good idea, if you have a thought, if you have a balance suggestion, reach out to him. He needs a hand. He's literally asking for balancing help and just ideas. This is what we're here for. We as Rimworld fans and part of a community are here to help other people. SOS2 for simulation. I'm working non-stop on this aspect of the game. Enemy Borg cubes. I'm currently looking at SOS2 creation kit mod. I need it to use Borg parts on the AI ship, and I need the AI to spawn actual Borg to defend the ship from boarders. Alright, fair enough. It would use a different mechanic for a ship battle against Borg AI. They would use transporters to instantly transmit to the player ship when the shields go down. That's cool. I like that idea. As soon as you take down the shield, they beam onto the ship. That's so cool as an idea. I love that. Hostile Borg would assimilate your crew and deconstruct your buildings. Oh, I'm so excited for this. So I just researched all the tech just so we can cover what this mod has in it at this time. Know that a lot of the tech is placeholder, like there is no Borg Queen at this time. It's just a placeholder product, but let's see what's actually here. One thing they do have is this pulsed Disruptor turret. This Borg autonomous sentry turret is intended to maim its targets, disrupting their maneuverability and flushing them out of cover. It fires disruptor pulses at a high rate but with low energy resonance. The result is a devastating firestorm of burning agony. And this mod requires a Wikipedia mod with it, so we can actually bring up the Wikipedia page for all this Borg stuff in-game. This is still a work in progress, this entire Wikipedia, but like if we look at Borg meat, it's just going to give us a very brief description, but I'm sure in the future we'll see more descriptions in this Wikipedia. We can see the costs and where to craft stuff too, which is good. We can see the Borg also have ship reactors. They have two different kinds of ship reactors. They have a smaller variant and a larger variant. This one costs... The smaller variant costs 1500 nanites to build, and the larger variant costs 2500 nanites. 2500 and 1500 nanites respectively. One can only output 10,000 watts of power and has a fuel capacity of 500 nanites. And the larger one outputs less at its normal level, but it can go into overdrive and bring it up to 1600, overdrive 2, 2400, and then overdrive 3, 3200. So that, unlike this one that cannot go into overdrive and is restricted to strictly 10,000 watts. Just like a normal ship reactor, this does have instability and does produce heat, so you should be mindful of that. A compact self-contained fusion reactor burns not uranium fuel pods, but nanites, venting heat into a heat sink network if available, or into a surrounding room if not. Its base production power is 7,500 watts and can be boosted from several different areas, and I think the base power is 8,000. We also have Borg capacitor arrays. This is essentially the exact same thing as a Save Ice Ship 2 capacitor array, but it's constructed of nanites instead of other components. We can see it costs 1,500 nanites and can store up to 100,000 energy, just like a normal capacitor array. The next thing I want to talk about is the Cryo Caskets. The Cryo Caskets double as escape pods. A Cryo Casket with multiple built-in timers and countdown genetics can be opened without manual intervention. In the event of a catastrophic ship failure, it can also act as an escape pod. It would be a good idea to have at least one of these on board the Starship. So, remember how we started this scenario? Our ship failed and catastrophically exploded, and we were carried to this Rimworld, separated from the collective, living alone. We came here on these cryo caskets, these escape pods. This is how we landed in this starting scenario, was from these cryo caskets and these escape pods. Just think about that. Just stop and think about that for a second. The start of the game is when your ship blows up, and we're just trying to get back to space. One more thing to note about the Borg specifically is they have a separate hull plating and separate walls. And we can see right here we have the nanite hull plating with the Borg, and ship hull unpowered Borg, and we have a ship hull Borg powered. We also have one specifically for AIs. These walls are incredibly strong. They have 50,000 health, and I found the only reliable way to take out a Borg cube, I have tried, is with anti-grain warheads. Anti-grain warheads are enough to punch through these walls in one volley, but they will only take down 2 or 3 areas and do catastrophic damage to the area around it. But essentially you need concentrated anti-grain warhead fire to actually breach into a Borg cube and destroy it. If you are wondering how you actually punch through these walls, anti-grain warheads. Lots of anti-grain warheads. They are also armed terrifyingly well with anti-grain warheads themselves. I don't know if this is temporary, having this kind of complement on the Borg cubes, but at this time they have 250, plus another 250 were here at one point as well. And you can check out their heatsink storage. They have almost 100 heat sinks, so the shield strength is relatively low. And we can also see the weapons systems. They have large turret batteries, large torpedo batteries, and you can just see all the turrets scattered through this. Let's actually select all the ones I still have on the ship. We've already been in a couple battles, so we've lost a few of them, but we can see I have 67 different variety of turrets on this ship. All variety, railgun, plasma, and laser. And a lot of torpedoes. With 2 railguns, there are a few different designs of these Borg cubes. There are 2, I believe, currently within the mod, and I believe he has intentions to add more. This is a place where I'd like us as a community to step in and help him. If he reaches out to us and asks us to build more ships, I'd love to build ships for him. Or if we can reach out to him, anyone that's interested in making ships for him, just give him a shout out saying, hey, I have building experience, can I make you some Borg ships? And just say, could you please draw me a design you want? Just an MS Paint doodle, and we can build some ships for him, or even just use our own creativity, whatever we think is good. Maybe research a bit of Borg lore. I'm sure they have recon cubes and a variety of other cube designs that they have in Borg lore. Alright, what else should we talk about? The Borg do have special benches specifically dedicated to breaking down that type of resource. We can see we have a raw foods bench, Borg raw food converter, Borg resource converter, Borg item converter, Borg manufactured material converter. So these are dedicated to converting resources, raw food, items, and manufactured goods into nanites. And they do it more efficiently and faster than the multi-purpose machine I showed you at the start of this video. Think of that machine as like your survival machine, and this is your factory tables. So if I wanted to break down body parts, I could get 25 nanites out of each body part. Or if I wanted to break down cybernetics, I would get more nanites. Or if I wanted to break down items such as building materials, technology, slag, exotic horns, for whatever reason, apparel, artifacts, and weapons, I can turn that all into nanites. Same with resources, and same with raw food. We also have butchering tables, of course, as you need to butcher people before you can turn them into nanites. Seems very fitting. We also have a advanced Starship station. So this is a step up from my Starship station. This is our advanced Starship station, and we can build a lot more from this menu. We can build our large turrets, our large torpedo bays, our advanced, our large engines, and any other things that we would need. Here it's quite limited. It's the bare necessities. We can only make a torpedo tube ×2. We can only make small turrets. We can only make small engines. Here we can have full access to the Save Our Ships to complement of equipment, and we can even make spinal weapons from this bench. But this is significantly more. I believe it's 4,000 if we try to build this. No, it's only 1,000. But compared to the 100, it's a big step up in cost. Be mindful that Borgs are humans, and they will need air, and they will need to be kept at a comfortable temperature. Otherwise, the organics will fail. They also cannot go out into decompression and void space without a rebreather. They can only go outside if they have a respirator on. They don't actually need a full spacesuit, they just need the respirator. Right there. Borg rebreather. A helmet designed to keep the occupant alive in outer space. If they don't have one of these, they should not be going out into the void of space. They will suffer decompression just like anyone else. So at the start, we had these Borg unlinked beds, which were recharging bays for iBorg. Once you have progressed down the technology tree, you'll have Borg alcoves. These are essentially more efficient beds that provide a much better immunity gain factors. Even if Borgs get infections, they will very quickly be able to gain immunity no matter what. This is probably the most overpowered medical bed I've ever seen. But it makes sense for the Borg, as though nanites would deal with any infection in their body or any illness in their body. And we can see the Borg unlinked provides very little immunity gain factor and will not be able to actually save a Borg's life if they could develop an infection, or at least be very unlikely.